So welcome to the webinar. My name is Julie Malmberg, and this is the K-4 Lower Primary Research Reports for the International Virtual Science Symposium. Today's presenters, we have Lynne Hehr here. She's the director of the University of Arkansas Center for Math and Science Education, and also the Arkansas NASA Educator Resource Center director. And my name is Julie Malmberg, as I said already, and I do education, outreach, and technology at the Global Implementation Office. So the plan today is for me to give you a little overview of the Science Symposium in K-4 parts, and then Lynne's going to provide quite a bit of information about doing research with K-4 students. So first off, the Science Symposium, I've put the URL at the top of all of the slides. And welcome, Janet. So if you need to find where we're talking about, you can go to that URL. And I just wanted to remind everybody that we've had another webinar about general information about the Science Symposium, and that is available on that URL up there if you want to see the recording. And this one's going to focus on K-4 again, but we're going to give a little information about it. So the Science Symposium is an online space for students to share and discuss GLOBE research with other students, scientists in the GLOBE community, and it's open to all GLOBE students, grades K-16. And we do have rubrics by grade level. And I'm going to go through the K-2 one here in a couple minutes. So the timeline, we're going to start accepting entries in early January, or sorry, in early 2017. We'll have an announcement up when actually the tool is available. We had to do some slight modifications to the tool from last year, so we're getting it ready for this year. Projects are due April 3rd. That's a little bit later than last year. And we have a comment period and scoring period from April 23rd through 29th. And then badges and feedback will be sent on May 7th or May 15th. And there will also be a live drawing on May 15th to see which students are selected to get a stipend for the annual meeting. And the GLOBE annual meeting is going to take place at the end of July, early August 2017, and will be in Connecticut. So I wanted to address the rubrics again. Again, the rubrics can be reached by going to this URL at the top of the slide and then clicking on rubrics. So you can see they're broken down by grade level. We have K-2, 3-5, 6-8, and 9-16. And these are really guidelines when you're preparing your report, what you need to include in it. So we'll go through the parts for the K-2 one. The first part here is showing the requirements for stars on the student research badge. So all students who enter the Science Symposium are going to receive a student research badge. And 4 stars means they met the most requirements, and 0 and 1 star mean that they are working on it and can keep improving their work. But really wanted to encourage students to just try and get as many stars as they're ready for. So again, the stars are, the guidelines are given here. You can see that 4 stars includes they have all the criteria required. It's a neat and organized report. It's clear and focused and contains the 5 elements required for acceptance. And the judges know the grade level of these reports, so we're not going to grade kindergartners, second graders the same way we would score a high school student. So keep that in mind too, that we're not going to expect the same things out of the different students. Then here are the actual parts of the report. It should include a title, a summary, research question or questions, research method, results, and conclusions. And again, these should be grade level appropriate. We know that kindergartners through 4th graders are going to have different skill sets and abilities than older students. So again, it's by grade level. So the items with stars, the title, summary, research questions, research methods, and conclusions are all required elements. So really make sure those are in there. The tables or graphics of data and how data supports the conclusion are not required, but they're a great way to show information too. And students can do simple things like just putting numbers in, or maybe doing a bar graph, or other ways that they can share their data. And these parts too are all explained on the website in more detail, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of this information is available in the rubrics. Okay, then the optional badges. The badges at the top are from last year's Science Symposium, and the badges listed are the current ones we have collaboration, community impact, connecting to STEM professional, interscholastic connection, engineering solution, and exploring STEM careers. And in order to meet these badges, and the students can see the descriptions there, and it can be things like the collaboration, like saying who the team members are and what each one did and how they supported it. Community impact, again, is how it can affect a local issue. Then working with a STEM professional can be connecting to a STEM professional. Working with another school, either in the same country or another country, and coming up with a solution using engineering. Or the last one is looking at STEM careers related to the research project. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over to Lynn to share more about her resources.
Okay, I'm looking for, hold on just a minute. I had it, now I'm not seeing it.
Mine is giving me a spinning beach ball. There we go.
Okay, are you seeing it now?
I'm just seeing you right now.
Okay. Hold on just a moment. I'm looking to share screen. All right, are you seeing it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I have been with the Globe Partnership since 1995, and let me get into. All right. Are you still seeing the screen?
Yes.
All right. So there are a lot of things that I'm going to go through pretty quickly because I want to get to a point. Let me go back to that slide. There are now 7 storybooks for K-4, and each one of those has its own unique way of collecting research as well as doing observations and collecting data. And the 2 newest that people may not be familiar with, What's Up in the Atmosphere, has to do with aerosols, and What in the World is Happening to Our Climate is just that. Doing comparisons of climate and weather. And so I want to look at, as we're going through this, we're going to be looking at the different storybooks and how they relate to different portions of observation and data collection that would be good for K-4, actually K-12, but with the storybooks, it just gives a basis on which to build observations. And so each of these, this is a PowerPoint that I've used before, and it will be online. So if anyone wants to use these, they're welcome to do this, welcome to use this in other forms of PD. So I'm going through this really quickly because I want to get to some of the sheets. When we're looking at correlations between inquiry and the storybooks, there's all kinds of information in the implementation guide through Elementary Globe, and here you can see all the different things that would be a part of research. So you're asking a question, you're giving evidence, you're forming explanations, you're connecting to science, and then you're communicating your research. In classroom implementation, Globe fits all of these, and I really like the storybook idea because with literacy being one of the major foci of our world, tying in storybooks with data collection and observations is important. So in classroom implementation, lots and lots of things that go with inquiry. And one of the things that I like about the K-4 connections is they tie very nicely in with 512. So if you've got classrooms that are just one of your best classes you've ever had, you obviously can use protocols that are in 5th through 12th grade Globe. The main Globe protocols would be very easy for that class. If you've got a third and fourth grade class that are just spectacular, then it's quite easy to go on into the elementary globe, on into the upper level globe protocols to use for any kind of data collection. So for students, taking valid measurements, reporting data, and communicating their research is just an extremely important part of what students need to be doing. And that's what this research symposium is all about. With teachers, using real world issues, coming up with engineering design projects. There's all kinds of support that's out there. I'm the Southeast Regional Coordinator for partners, and if I can be of any help, it doesn't matter if you're not in my region, but we can coordinate through other regional directors, and we can just provide lots of assistance. So I have this just to show some of the student research pages that can be used. These are in the Globe activity, and this one happens to be with missing hummingbirds. So this brings up the idea of if you wanted to do some kind of seasonal, that's kind of the main idea behind the mystery of the missing hummingbird, is seasonal types of things. So if you wanted to do research on what's happening in your neighborhood during the different seasons, that could be a research question. And one of the questions in the book, in the storybook, is where do the hummingbirds go? And that is a question that students could be asking, not just of hummingbirds, but of other indigenous species in your area. So I can't emphasize enough, before research, individual research starts, it's very important to get the students knowing the types of observations they should be making, and also the types of data they should be collecting. And so there are some data sheets that I can suggest later on that would go along for different grade levels. For obviously a kindergartner and a fourth grader are going to be using different types of data collection sheets. So this one's pretty simple. One of the things I have used with these sheets, the activity sheets, is I shrink them to 85%. With the kindergarten and first grade, I use the 100% sheet. It's bigger, there's more room for them to use to collect data. But for second through fourth grade, I use at 85%, and it shrinks down to a really nice, almost half-page clipboard size sheet that looks a little more grown up for second through fourth grade. But I still want to go back to the idea of observation and data collection. Those two things can be done at any grade level, and kids need to understand, students need to understand what they're looking for and how to collect data and what they can use to collect data. So we're looking at just the colors of the season, what types of things are here. Once again, this is still in a seasonal activities. This idea about hummingbirds could be used with any type of animal. And then measurement is also extremely important. So if I were to say two words that are key to any kind of research that students are doing, it would be observation and measurement. If they're taking accurate measurements, accurate data, then that's going to benefit their research. And it's very simple in the idea, but correct measurements and good data are what's really important with any research project. If they can get that at an elementary, primary level, then they've got it set all the way through graduate school. And I think anyone at a university would probably agree with that. You want good data, and it starts at a very young age. So this is Discoveries at Willow Creek. These sheets are from activities through Willow Creek, and this has to do with hydrology. And that's one of the, if you're in an area that has a creek or a river, a stream, a lake, ponded water, you can do all kinds of hydrology measurements, water measurements that are simple and can be done for any grade level of student. Once again, measurements using magnifying glasses. And then macroinvertebrates is something that kids have a good time with. If you're not familiar with macroinvertebrates and you don't have a skill set that includes identifying these creatures, you can always get someone from the area, from Game and Fish, from a university setting, someone at a high school biology level who could come in and talk with the students about different macroinvertebrates. And I had a teacher once ask me what that means, and it's just these are invertebrates that don't have a backbone, and they're critters in the water that you can see. You don't have to have a microscope in order to see them. Students always love these. I've taken this particular activity and turned it into something where the actual picture and size of the critters are in an activity that I've done, and so that will be a part of the materials that I will share on the pages where we share the information that we're using today. So macroinvertebrates is another research project. Then the scoop on soils, soils or pedosphere, geosphere, whichever way you particularly care to label it, looking at land. And kids always have a good time with this, especially bringing soil from their backyards to do comparisons between them. You can have, in one backyard, you can have many different types of soil depending on whether it's natural or whether it's been disturbed. And one of the things I would say about this sheet, instead of doing sand, silt, and clay, I would have sample number 1, sample number 2, and sample number 3. Oftentimes in a soil sample, you may not be able to distinguish sand, silt, and clay. And if you're going to use something at a simple level, then I definitely would change sand, silt, and clay to example 1, 2, and 3. That would be something the students could compare and do samplings to see the different soils in their area. And second grade, I taught a class where second grade was just getting all kinds of muddy, and they were having the best time. And if you can imagine a little girl with blonde hair, a big pink bow, and pink outfit on, and she said, "This is the coolest day ever." So I definitely would look at soils as being something that your students would enjoy doing some research on. This is another soil activity, and it has to do with just sand, silt, and clay in different samples. This could be something where students are looking at the amount of sand, silt, and clay in their materials, and clay settles out last. The silt will settle out on top of sand. So heaviest things settle out first, and you could do a relative information about how much sand, silt, and clay is in your particular sample. Then once again, soil. This is just an activity that goes along with soil. And then clouds. There's a lot, and I'm going to kind of skip over this for a minute because I've got a lot of suggestions in a sheet a little bit later on. So just looking at clouds, looking at Earth systems and things that play on. This second PowerPoint has to do with just weather. And there is an activity that I've created that goes along with this, and I'm going to quickly go through here. I'm just wanting to show you what's available to you. I have wiki pages, and I hope this works. Are you able to see this at all? The
So
wiki
we're
page.
seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay. I'm just going to tell you that, let me see if I drag. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. This is a wiki page that just has to do with elementary globe materials. Mike, I think you may have gone here at times. And this particular one is just a link in this PowerPoint, so I'm going to get out of this one. And then weather is another one. Let me pull that up, and I'll pull it over so you can see it. Sorry. Well, I think I'm going to pull it over. Anyway, it is pretty much the same type with lots and lots. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is just having to do with weather. So if you're looking for some of the things that I have been recommending, these are where you're going to find those lessons and those activities. So when you're talking about things to measure and identify, measurement, once again, one of the two top words, measurement and observation. So temperature, clouds, precip, wind, UV, barometric pressure, and humidity. Now, barometric pressure and humidity, you're into upper grade levels, 4th and 5th grade before you get into that. And I think we've got college students that don't quite understand that yet, but anyway, UV, ultraviolet, would be something that lower levels, not lower level, but lower grades could understand. They understand, they get sunburns. And so you could do comparisons of current, max, min. You could do comparisons of thermometers. That would be an interesting study, to have several different thermometers and do a comparison of what thermometers reading. Because if we're talking about climate change and we're talking about a 1/2 degree to a degree of difference in or rising in temperature, if students are comparing thermometers, there could be a difference there. So the idea that it matters the types of instrumentation that we use for data collection, that would also be a research project that could be, I think, quite interesting. Indoor and outdoor temperatures, analog versus digital, and then this thermometer foldable, there are, and these are different types of thermometers that you can use. You're familiar with that. This is just a PowerPoint that I used with a presentation that I did, so I wanted you to have this in case you might want to do some kind of presentation with your students. And you're more than welcome to use any of the materials, as long as you don't, well, just you're welcome to use any of the materials. Different types of clouds and cloud cover, contrails. We have all kinds of charts that Globe uses. Here you can see the cloud chart that Globe has used, and then also school cloud ID. Those are available as well. So just different types of materials. This activity is used for cloud cover estimation. If any of you've ever used these little cootie catchers, this is a cute activity that works really well, called Make a Cloud Finder. And that one works really well as far as with definitions and what you might find in certain kinds of clouds. Also Cloud Key. And I'm going to go on. Then contrail charts. I like this one. There is another one that can be used that only has English, if you're wanting that one too. I think it's on the wiki link that I just gave you. Precipitation, students can make their own container if they want to, or use one that is recommended by Globe. Wind speed is also one of those things that is fun to do, especially if you're doing a comparison with cloud and cloud types. Wind direction and wind speed are always kind of fun to look at. You have to pull in the sun when you're doing ultraviolet, and so there's more information there. Barometric pressure, I know in 4th grade and past, our 4th grade made their own barometers, and they did a comparison from day to day. It was not numeric, but they just did is there high pressure or low pressure. Humidity is another one of those that's kind of optional, and it would be 4th grade, 4th and 5th grade, I would think, that would be using the sling psychrometer. And comparing humidity with air temp and precip would be a good research project. So I'm going to go on through this. Just lots of different information. So weather projects are listed here. There are some weather, some websites that are listed in this PowerPoint, but I want to get through. These are just some ideas for questions that you could be asking with your younger students to get them into the idea of looking at the world around them and asking questions about what's going on. And so guided observation, guided measurement is really important early on, because oftentimes students just don't know what to look for, what they're looking at. And if you're explaining that, so for kindergarten, the weather could be very simple. What are they wearing? And any of you who teach know that some kids come to school and they're just not, they're not dressed appropriately for the weather. So math ties into this quite nicely. If you're collecting data, you're going to have to use math as far as communicating. And so the reason I'm going through this pretty quickly is this being recorded. This is going to be available. Also, it will be online available, just to give you more ideas of what can be done. And then writing prompts, all kinds of things that you can do to have the kids start thinking about weather, thinking about their thoughts and writing them down. Because Globe is international, they could do comparisons with other schools. This is one that I've used with, this is what I'm meaning by guided when I'm talking about doing some research about animals. And I'm just going to quickly go through this. This actually, for kindergarten and first grade, would be something where I'm giving them what I'm wanting them to learn about their animal. And so they would be using this PowerPoint, and I'm sure you've probably have other types of guided research that you've done, but this is just something that I use so that in our watershed, we have a Beaver Lake in Northwest Arkansas, and we did some lessons to go along with Northwest Arkansas watershed. And so this was something, we have threatened and endangered species in our watershed, and so this was something I was wanting the students in groups to be able to do some research. And so that was something that, just to give you a suggestion of the kinds of things that you could be having the students ask. And these by no means are the be-all end-all. It's just something that would give the students a little bit of a guide, so that the next time they do research, they have more of an idea of what's wanted. I guess basically it would be kind of a rubric. Now, this is what I actually wanted to get to. This sheet, these next 2 or 3 sheets are some suggestions for data collection that could be done. And this is not an all-inclusive. There could be a lot of other things, but if you'll notice, there's a lot of comparison, collecting and analyzing data over a period of time, doing comparisons in a variety of different ways, whether it's air, soil, surface, water, that we come into that later, as well as cloud cover and then precipitation. So the types of data collection and data analysis just for atmosphere, that could be a major research project just there. Also, if you'll notice this, comparing precip at different globe schools could be the same latitude, it could be the same longitude, it could be north versus south, east versus west, just a whole variety of different things there. One suggestion I would have with this is that if you're doing any comparison with globe schools, if you're asking globe schools to participate, make sure they're collecting data, because that's an important part. And also use the regional coordinators to help you. It might be that they know some teachers, some schools in their area who would be more than interested in doing this. A short project could be 1 week. out of each season. It could be the first day of each season, just to do a comparison between those schools. Hydrology or hydrosphere, a lot of different types of things that you can do. Turbidity, air temp, you can do speed of the water, you can use different water bodies, and this might be more 3rd and 4th grade, because you're probably going to have to, unless you have a stream or river close to you, probably 3rd or 4th grade would be into hydrology. I usually recommend 4th grade just simply because it would be a field trip for a lot of our teachers to go to a site to collect water data. Then biosphere, adopt a tree and take all different kinds of measurements from that tree. I have a lot of suggestions on some teacher's guides that you may already have. If you're interested in getting those, you can just contact me and I can give you some suggestions for some teacher's guides that you may already be using that go along with this. Ground cover is a big part of the biometrics that Globe does, and tree ID. So circumference, identification of the trees in the area, doing graminoid and forb, having to do with grasses and clovers in your area. This would be, I think, one that students would be particularly interested in as well. Geosphere, there's a lot of different things that you can do with soils. I would stick, I think with the younger levels, I would stick with color, and texture by feel is an activity sheet that we find very useful. The 2nd graders just loved it when they actually are, they have soil in their hands and they're doing a variety of different types of measurement with it, and they just had a good time with it, and were able to tell the texture, meaning the soil, silt, and clay particles in their soils. But soils in different backyards, different soil types, you would be sharing information but not soils with other Globe schools. Soil moisture also is a very important part. That's what keeps all of our trees and grasses growing, and our vegetables and things like that growing. We need soil moisture in order to grow anything. So comparing air, soil, and surface temperatures, that would be a good research area. And Julie, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I very quickly went through these just to let people see the types of things that I would suggest.
Okay, so you need to stop sharing it and then I'll share.
Okay. All right. Oh, stop share. Okay. There you go.
Great, thank you. Let's see here.
And I went through all of that very quickly, just simply because this will be made available, and you'll have all that information, which will make a little more sense when you can look at it and not having gone through it so quickly.
Thank you, Lynn. So I wanted to show a couple of current reports we have that students have done in primary grades. This is a 4th grade class, and last year was an El Nino year, and they wanted to see if temperature and precipitation in November, December, and January were affected by El Nino. So they did measurements of temperature and precipitation and then compared it to previous measurements of temperature and precipitation to see what happened. And these research reports are all linked to from this URL at the top here. So you can see different examples of research reports. If you need ideas for research, Lynn had that fantastic list of ideas. You can also look at what students in the past have done. This is one example. A second example, students wanted to see if tree removal affected water quality. This is a 5th grade classroom, and they actually have a creek that's near their house, and they've checked water quality before, or sorry, their school, and they checked water quality before, and they decided to see, after a tree was removed, what happened to the water quality. And there are other examples of student interest, like how much snowfall leads to snow days, which is a very interesting topic to students. And again, Lynn provided that fantastic list. So I wanted to remind you again where to find information. Here's the URL. Then if you want to find it from the home page, you can go to globe.gov, then to news and events, meetings and symposia, and then virtual science symposia. And that'll take you to the current one. And, or easier way again is to type that URL at the top in there. And that is all we have today. I want to thank you so much for joining us and for watching. If you are watching this and have questions, either for Lynn or for me, please feel free to send an email. My email address is here. Lynn's was provided earlier in the PowerPoint presentation. But if you want to ask her a question, you can email me. I can forward it to her also. And that is all we have today. So thank you all for attending and watching. And if there are any questions, we can take them in the chat window. My computer stops doing whatever it's doing. Okay. Okay. Yes, thank you for attending. So I'm going to stop the recording now.